All right, everybody, welcome back into Sports and Money, Pro Football GM. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited about this one. This is another draft video. We're breaking down a guy named Ikem Ekwonu, left tackle from NC State. A lot of you guys have already watched a lot of film on him. YouTube actually has several good breakdowns on him as well, so I'm going to add to it. Hopefully I'll add some things that maybe the other breakdowns didn't necessarily show. But this is who we're covering today. I'm really excited because this guy's really good, all right? I think the hype about this guy can be believed. It all seems to hold up, all right? So Ikem Ekwonu from NC State, left tackle. Looks like he's going to be somewhere in the top 5 depending on what teams actually want to draft. So he might end up number 1 overall, 2, 3, but he's going to be all the way up there, and rightfully so. Ikem Ekwonu, nicknamed Icky. By the way, I think nicknamed after Icky Woods. I think one of his coaches at one point thought he looked like Icky Woods, the running back for the Cincinnati Bengals during the late 80s, early 90s, and nicknamed him Icky because of that. But Ikem Ekwonu, a left tackle from NC State. There's so much to cover. I have so many notes on this guy. I will not get to them all. So if I leave something out, something that I should have said, I'm sorry. Y'all can post it in the comments if you want to. Let's go through. I want to tell you first of all who I watched him against, because, and the reason I do that is this: if I'm going to spout out my opinion about how good I think these guys are, or what I think they can or can't do, or how I think they might look on my NFL team, I think you guys have a right to know how much I've studied and who I've studied it against, okay? Now, I haven't put in as much work as I did on the Aiden Hutchinson videos. I put in a ton of work on those Aiden Hutchinson videos. Not as much here, but still a fair amount. I watched him play against Miami every snap. Clemson, I watched every snap. I even rolled back and watched half the game against Clemson again. I watched every snap versus Florida State that he played, every snap versus North Carolina, every snap versus Mississippi State, and every snap against Wake Forest. So that's 6 games, all from his final season at NC State. Watched every snap, went back and watched a few more just to make sure I was getting a couple of points down. So that's the amount of work I put in. If there's something from another game that he played this past season and I didn't catch it, then that's why, okay? So I watched these 6 games, and that's how much study I put into this particular video. I felt like I'd seen enough. I'm going to tell you something very quickly before we get into the grades, okay? Watching Ikem Ekwonu play left tackle at NC State was very, very exciting for the first, I don't know, 2 quarters. And after that, it got really, really boring, okay? And the reason why is because he does the exact same thing every single time. He's like a machine. He is so efficient, and that's a good thing, okay? He is very, very, very consistent every single time with what he does. And so from that standpoint, the video got to be very boring, and honestly, after I'd watched these 6 games, I kind of felt like I'd seen enough, okay? So again, for something I haven't expounded on that's in one of the other games, that's why, okay? So from these 6 games, this every snap, that's what I've gleaned my notes and my references from, okay? Let's start off right here at the top. Strength. How strong is this guy? The answer is very strong. I give him an A to an A+ on strength. He's very physical. Anytime he blocks somebody, he hits them, you can see the impact. A lot of times he's putting guys on the ground. I only one time, in all 6 games, one time I saw Ikem Ekwonu get pushed somewhere that he didn't want to get pushed to. That was one snap against Wake Forest. I'm not even sure why. I'm not even sure if he was surprised by the move or if he was thinking about something else. One time in all of these games, all of these snaps, one time I saw Ekwonu get pushed somewhere he didn't want to get pushed to. Every other time, every other snap, Ekwonu was winning the battle and pushing the other guy to where the other guy did not want to be. It was not neutral. It was not a standoff. It was not 2 Rams battering heads. Every other time, Ikem Ekwonu was pushing the other guy somewhere that Ekwonu wanted him to be in terms of strength. Okay, and we're going to get into technique and the pass blocking in a minute, but just in terms of strength, when two guys, Ekwonu and the other guy, went head to head and actually ran into each other, Ekwonu wins every time. Okay, so that gives you an idea of his strength. And I don't want to be snarky about this. I'm not overly worried about how he combines. Okay, I really don't care a whole heck of a lot what his arm strength turns out to be, what he can bench or what he can squat. Doesn't mean a lot. What means a lot to me is when I watched him play against these guys, he's winning every battle. Every single time he gets in a collision with somebody, he won except once. That was it. One snap against Wake Forest. So that's where I grade his strength A to A+. Now, was he going up against the biggest guys in the world? Not really, okay? Usually he was the bigger guy. Usually he's the bigger guy against these teams right here. And by the way, that's going to be the case most of the time in the NFL. Most of the defensive ends he'll be going up against will be lighter than him by a good bit. But even having said that, Ekwonu is winning. Even taking speed into account, he doesn't look uncomfortable. He's not off balance. He's not caught by surprise. He's still winning those battles, right? So strength-wise, he's outstanding, and I do not expect that to change once he gets to the NFL, okay? So A to A+ on the strength category. Quickness. For a left tackle, this guy is unbelievably quick. For a guard, this guy is quick. This guy could outrun some tight ends, okay? He is fast and he is smooth. This is not just a football player. This is not just an offensive lineman. This is an athlete right here. Ekwonu is fast and smooth, and he is very quick, and he can run anywhere on a football field in a very short period of time and still have some breath left in him once he gets there, okay? This guy is very athletic. The speed and the quickness is there. You don't have to have that in a tackle at the NFL level. A lot of tackles at the NFL can't run very far in any direction, but Ekwonu can. He was a guard when he came up through college. They kicked him out to tackle. He should stay there. There's absolutely no reason to kick him back to guard because tackles are in short supply in the NFL. But the quickness is there. This guy is fast for an offensive lineman, fast for a football player. I think he could even match speed of some tight ends out there. All right, that's how fast that he is. Run blocking. This guy's almost shut it down when it comes to run blocking. I've got some diagrams we'll get into. We'll talk more about that in a minute. When he gets his hands on somebody, the show is over. It is done. When he actually gets to somebody and can get his hands on there, and he's very good in trench warfare. He's excellent at getting his hands on somebody but keeping his hands in tight. So you're not going to see any of this and getting called for holding a whole lot on average. Hands are in tight. He's on balance. He's winning the strength battle. And when it comes to run blocking, he's A to A+ again. He wins the run blocking battle almost every single time. Wherever you tell him to go and block, he's going to go and block, and he's going to win that battle. It was, again, at first it was exciting to see, and after a while you're just like, okay, I get it. This is what I'm going to see every single snap. All right, it was that efficient. Run blocking, shut it down, show's over, he wins almost every single time. Fantastic in run blocking. Pass blocking, not as good, but still very good. Very good. I'm gonna get more into the pass blocking here in the diagrams in a minute, but I've got him graded as A-, B+. I think A- really is about where he should be. There were very few times that I saw him get beat in pass blocking. There were a few, probably on average twice a game. 2 times a game, I'll get more into it on the diagram. On average, about 2 times a game, I saw him get beat on pass blocking. And it was never easy. It was never often. It was never the same guy. It was usually some other guy coming from some different angle. But it was never the same guy who was just beating him over and over and over again. Never. You never saw that. You never saw one single game where you're like, wow, he's really got his hands full today. No, never. There was never a single game like that. Every single game, he was the winner in pass blocking, even though he's not unbeatable. Probably two times a game, we saw guys get through but on average, he's winning almost as good at pass blocking as he is at run blocking, but not quite. Okay, so that's where he is. And versatility, you could probably already guess this because of the quickness factor. You can send this guy anywhere on the football field you want to as a blocker. You can send him out in the flat. You can send him all the way across the line of scrimmage. You can send him up the middle. You can use him as a guard. You can use him as either tackle. This guy will block anywhere. He's very versatile. And NC State did a good job using that, man. They used him all over the football field as a blocker from the tackle spot. You can do anything you want to with this guy. You will not find, I've got him A+ in versatility. You will not find an offensive lineman who is more versatile than this guy. And the important thing, and I'll make this point now so I don't forget it later, he sustains his blocks. He gets a guy, he blocks the guy, and he doesn't just hit the guy, he sustains that block all the way through the end of the play, all the way through. It's not unusual, even at the NFL level, to see guys who are quick and they kind of sort of get there and they give a little hand push and then that's it. Not with Ekwonu. Ekwonu gets all the way there with his body wherever he's intending to go, with one exception. We'll see that in a second. He gets there, he makes good, tough physical impact every single time. It's not unusual to see him hit the same guy on the same play 2 or 3 times. And it's not unusual to see guys just flat out get frustrated with Ekwonu because he's not doing anything wrong. He's just blocking all the way through to the end of the play, even after they've kind of given up on trying to get past him or trying to get to the ball carrier. I can't tell you how many times I saw Ekwonu put a guy on the ground or just keep blocking the same guy in one direction till the guy just wasn't in the play anymore. And you could see guys at times getting frustrated and a little bit chippy with Ekwonu because he was winning the battle by that much. All right, so that's how good this guy is at all of this, and specifically his versatility. All right, I'm gonna come back to this question at the end. It'll make more sense at the end. I've got all of my diagrams here. Okay, I'm excited about my diagrams. I'm gonna start here. This is the best stuff here. I'm gonna save that for last. All right, but I'm gonna start here. Pulling. I already said that he's very physical and he sustains the blocks. When he hits, he doesn't just push. Like some guy, you see guys at the NFL level do this, trying to block and they just kind of push when they get wherever they're going. Not Ekwonu. It's a hit. It's a hit every single time. Full force, but he doesn't lose his balance when he hit. He's not leaning forward, and it's good, solid contact every single time, and then he keeps hitting. But when it comes to pulling, some guys can't do this. Ekwonu can. You're going to see him. You're going to see the offensive line move up as they're run blocking here, and you're going to see Ekwonu step back, come all the way over, and block right here. And he does this so smoothly. And the important part is he doesn't just run somewhere. He actually blocks when he gets there. So when the ball is snapped, the offensive linemen are pushing forward. He takes a step back, runs across, and blocks here. And he can do it in either direction. He can either seal this end here and open up the edge, or more often, they're kicking something. He's kicking out a blocker. He's kicking out a defender right here, and they're opening up a hole right here for the running back. Okay, and it's devastating. When he does it, it's devastating. Even after coming all the way across, sometimes you'll see, even at the NFL level, you'll see guys come all the way across. The ones that are fast enough, there aren't many, but he's fast enough to get all the way across, and they get there and they don't block anybody. Not Ekwonu. When he gets there, he's got his target, boom, beat on, whoever it is, sealed, blocked, hole opened. If there's a breakdown in the running game, it's not going to be here with Ekwonu, it'll be somewhere right here, okay? Fantastic at pulling, okay? Like I said, he used to be a guard. If they ever needed him to play guard for a week or two because of injuries, they could, but there's no need to do that. This guy's playing tackle, and he's pulling from the tackle position. Fantastic. The versatility really kicks in here. The strength kicks in here. The speed kicks in here. When he's pulling, he's so smooth, and he is actually blocking somebody when he gets there to that other side, okay? Out in space, this is something that not all tackles can do. Again, even at the NFL level, there are tackles who really can't do this very well. We've seen them before. Now, Well, usually, not always, sometimes it would be a screen, but most often it's a running back coming out here to the flat. And what you're going to see both of these tackles just float over here. And they're going to be lead blockers. Sorry, not both the tackles, both those offensive linemen. Left tackle, left guard. NC State did this all the time. It was amazing. And I'm going to get somewhere here while I'm talking about NC State and Ekwonu. Ekwonu was so good at blocking and so versatile and able to swing to the right, back to the left, out in space. He can go anywhere. NC State, he was so good at it. NC State, by the end of the season, just kind of built the offensive game plan off of that. They knew they could plan on that, and they were just building the offensive game plan off of that, and they would just run this play all the time, run this play all the time, and that play that I'm going to show you here in a second. Just running these plays all the time because Ekwonu was money in the bank every single time. He was so consistent. Now, what happened to NC State, not Ekwonu's fault, but to NC State, teams got to expecting this. NC State ran this so often because Ekwonu was so much better than the rest of the offensive linemen. The rest of the offensive linemen for NC State weren't horrible. They were physical but inconsistent. But Ekwonu was so consistent every single time, and NC State was using him and building the running game off of him so much that when they started pulling this way, defenders had learned to recognize that wherever Ekwonu goes, there's a very good chance that's where the play is going to. And what would happen, Ekwonu would get out here trying to block somebody, and they would slip it. Usually, again, we're talking about a defensive back. So this is how good Ekwonu is. He's so fast, and he's so good at blocking that they're building a huge part of the offensive package around him from week to week. And they're actually asking him to block defensive backs out here in space, which is very difficult for anybody to do, even wide receivers. And Ekwonu can do it, except what you started to see, teams were expecting it. NC State ran it so often that teams were expecting it, and the defensive backs started just kind of flooding this area when they recognized that Ekwonu was on the move, and they were able to slip these blocks. And a lot of these plays became ineffective in the last part of the season for NC State because teams had learned to recognize that. Wherever Ekwonu goes, if he pulls, if he floats out in space, if he stays right there, wherever he goes, that's a good chance that's where the ball's going. Okay, so this play right here became very ineffective, and you will see Ekwonu miss a lot of blocks out in space, but that's not necessarily because he's not capable of blocking in space. It is because defenses figured out if we just flood this area with defenders and let them slip on past, long before Ekwonu actually gets there, they were basically cutting off this running game and even slipping behind it. So if you see that, if you're like, hey, you know, I saw Ekwonu missing blocks out in space, he probably can't do it. Well, really what is happening is the defense just got used to it. They got used to seeing, reading Ekwonu and watching what NC State was doing on offense, and they're just slipping those blocks before Ekwonu can even get out there to get the block. So he's still out here running, and the defense is already flooding and anticipating this, okay? Defense has got really good at anticipating that. So if you see that and you're like, hey, what gives right there? Is that a weakness for Ekwonu? Well, again, you're talking about a left tackle blocking defensive backs out in space. He's decent at it, but what was really happening, defensive anticipation right there. These are the two best things I want to see right here, okay? I want to show you. This is the best move that Ekwonu did. I've already talked about a lot of fun, awesome things that he's good at. This one is the best. I call this door on hinges, or you can also call it, see the L shape that's going to happen here, or you can also call it a moving wall. Any of those things will suffice, and I'll show it to you here in a second, but here's what's going to happen. This is run blocking. NC State is running the football, an NFL team will be running the football. Ekwonu is actually right here. This is Ekwonu right here. And this is something NC State did a lot again. So here's Ekwonu, left guard, here's your center, here is your, here is right guard, right tackle, and this guy right here on the end is actually not Ekwonu. That is actually a tight end or a fullback, or some hybrid thereof. And what the football team is going to be trying to do, whether it was NC State last year or an NFL team in the future, they are going to run the ball right here, right between Ekwonu and the defensive end. I'm going to show you in a second, but I'm fixing to mess all this up, so I don't want to. I want to explain it before I mess it all up. This tight end, this fullback, this hybrid is going to be responsible for blocking that defensive end right there, your wide defensive end. Ekwonu is actually going to pinch down right here on your defensive tackle, and it's going to create a wall right here, or a lane, or a tunnel for the running back to run through. And this worked every single time in terms of what Ekwonu's job was. I never saw Ekwonu miss this. Not one single time did I see Ekwonu miss this block ever. This is money in the bank. He is going to pinch down, and this entire wall is going to move. So much so, he's going to win this battle so much that he actually, it's like a door on hinges. You're going to watch it swing over, and then you're going to watch it swing back on itself. It is amazing to watch it on film. There is no room for anybody to get through here. He wins this battle every single time. Granted, it's a double team, but he's pushing an entire line across, basically, is what's happening. And you see this more efficiently from him than you see it from anybody else. All right? So, let's start the play. The running back is going to run through here. At the snap, these offensive linemen all push up to block, right? That's normal. That's the first part of the L. Here is Ekwonu. He's actually going to help double right here. And that's where you start to get that L shape that I'm talking about, okay? You see the red? That's the L shape. This tackle, this fullback hybrid, is responsible to block right here. And here's where the fun starts. It's not unusual to see that. That's normal. What's not normal is you start seeing this is the moving wall part. This whole line just kind of starts to fold down on itself. And I'm making a mess here. You start to see this right here. Ekwonu is basically pushing the entire defensive line off to one side into just a big muddled pile. Now, he's not the only guy in football who can do that. But I haven't seen anybody else at the college level this year do it this efficiently, with this much strength, every single time, and just win that entire defensive line battle to where you know nobody's getting through here. As a matter of fact, they win it so much that sometimes you'll actually see Ekwonu pushing this guy all the way down the field. It is fantastic to see. He's not doing it by himself. He's got help. But it is dominating to watch this. And when these plays didn't work, it wasn't because of anything Ekwonu was doing. It was because this block got missed right here, or it was because a linebacker or a safety dropped in the field in that hole. These often weren't large gains. The reason they weren't, teams were anticipating this again. NC State ran it so much. They were so good at doing it. Ekwonu was so good at doing it that defenses started just kind of flooding this side of the field where Ekwonu was going to be. And that's where you started to see Ekwonu having to pull across and do some of the blocking stuff, and you started seeing some of the counter plays that NC State had to run because defenses were anticipating this. Defenses were predicting this. But Ekwonu's massive movement of the pile here, movement of the line, was a lot of fun to see. You see it every game. Really, really enjoyed that. And again, that's the efficiency kicking in. That's his strength to be able to push. Nobody's pushing him anywhere. Nobody is pushing him anywhere ever. Even the defensive tackles that he went up against on occasion. All right, that leaves us with this last diagram right here. Pass block. And I said this wasn't the strongest part of his game, but he's still phenomenal at this. And so pass blocking, almost always he's going up against edge rushers. Usually they're faster kind of guys, and usually they're lighter, okay? So when the offensive line is dropping back, and he does that, he drops back, and the edger is trying, it is the edger's job, he is trying to get to the quarterback, of course. He is trying his best to actually get there. It was rare, once or twice a game out of these 6, once or twice a game, I actually saw Ekwonu get beat on this outside edge. From here all the way around to the outside edge, and actually either give up a sack or pressure. I think I saw it twice against Florida State, once or twice against Miami, and maybe once or twice against the other teams. It was never often. It was never easy. Even when the guy did get past, Ekwonu was just right on top of him, hands on him. Ekwonu has been beat on the play, but Ekwonu hasn't given up on the play. He's still right there. Again, it's not easy, but once or twice a game, you did see Ekwonu get beat on the edge by somebody. It was, out of the games I watched, it was never the same player twice. It wasn't like there was one guy that was ever wearing him out. That never happened. By and large, Ekwonu was winning these battles either. He's just not winning them at the same percentage that he is winning his run blocking. Run blocking, he's like winning 99% of the time. Pass blocking, he's winning 92, 93, 90% of the time, something like that. Okay, I didn't count them all, but that just gives you a feel for the difference there, okay? So, there were actually, and this was the weird thing to see, once a game, this was one of the most bizarre things that I'll say here. Once a game, you would see Ekwonu just let somebody through. Now, I don't know why. Usually the defense had overloaded that side. Now, I suspect, I didn't break down enough film to say, I suspect that defenses were overloading this side in anticipation that that's where NC State was going to run the football. We already talked about that. Right here, out in space, or right here, I think defenses were overloading that side in anticipation of NC State running the football to that side. Because usually, when Ekwonu let somebody through, it was usually, it looked like he wasn't sure who to block on the play when he's pass blocking here. Like, he wasn't sure who to block, and so he picked one guy and he lets the other guy through, and that wasn't always the right decision. Now, what I don't know is, because I didn't spend hardly any time on this, was that a play that the quarterback should have sent help over, a running back to help? Was that a play where the guard that he was working with miscommunicated and they got confused? Or was that a play on which Ekwonu wasn't sure which guy to guard and picked up the wrong guy? But usually once a game out of these 6, you saw him let somebody through. Usually it was in an overload situation, not always. I think that's something that's easily coachable. I don't think that's a consistent problem at all in terms of that. But it was bizarre. You would see that, once a game, it just kind of popped out in a world of great footage. That one weird thing would kind of pop out there. But Ekwonu would let one guy come through. The other thing you saw was this. Ekwonu often, very often, especially against, say, Miami, Clemson, Florida State, would look like he was beat on the play. It would look like the edge rusher had a step or a half a step on Ekwonu and had the angle to the quarterback. And 9 times out of 10, Ekwonu would just drop down. I don't know if you call it a slide step or a drop step, but still on balance, never pushing. Ekwonu would just kind of slide and drop down like he was in control of it the whole time and just kind of block the guy right out of the picture. And it was fascinating to see when you thought, okay, the guy's got Ekwonu beat. He's got a head on him, he's got a step on him, he's got half a step on him. Ekwonu's going to give up a snap. Nope. Ekwonu, time after time after time, it was remarkable, would just drop down, slide down, and block the guy, as if he kind of had that planned out the whole time. Now, what I never saw when Ekwonu was tasked with purely pass blocking on the play, I never saw him get beat inside. Again, I never saw anybody push him out of the way where he didn't want to go, and I never saw him get beat inside and give up a sack to the quarterback inside. It was always outside edge, every single time. And again, I saw that 7 or 8 times. Okay, but it was always outside edge. And every once in a while he would look like he was getting beat, and he wasn't. One other thing on this pass blocking, and this points to how good he actually is. Even when he might have been struggling with a guy, even when it looked like the guy might have him beat, even when he was up against somebody who was good, you never saw the quarterback get crowded. If this is the quarterback and they're dropping back in pass coverage, a lot of times in the NFL and college, when a tackle is having trouble with an edge rusher who's especially fast, a lot of times they actually back up toward the quarterback in an effort to kind of shorten the area that they've got to guard. And what happens is they might keep the edge rusher from actually getting hands on the quarterback, but what they've done is they've crowded the quarterback's space, and the quarterback is now a little bit distracted by this push that he's getting on his left side. And while he's trying to look downfield, he's a little bit crowded as far as stepping forward and throwing, or he's just crowded mentally, and he's trying to think, do I actually have time to throw the football here, or I'm getting crowded here? You never saw that with Ekwonu. These guys never blocked Ekwonu, speed-wise or strength-wise, back into the quarterback. Ekwonu always gave his quarterback plenty of space, plenty of pocket room to operate. You never saw Ekwonu trying to take these shortcuts in an effort just to keep a guy off his quarterback. Never. Ekwonu operated right here, pushed the guy around, every once in a while gets beat around the edge, but even so, you never saw him crowding his quarterback with his own presence, getting backed up, or having to worry about a guy on the inside. Never happened. Ekwonu's balance, strong hands, strong center core, all of it is exceptional. He can be beat on the outside edge, but that's very unusual. And that's going to bring me back to this last question right here. And basically, this is the last thing. When I look at Ekwonu, and I'm trying to predict just how good can he be for an NFL team. I already know what all he can do, okay? But how good can he be? When I look at him, I see a guy who is basically, I don't like to say a lock, but basically a lock for the Pro Bowl every single season. And I see a guy who probably should be an All-Pro in a fair amount of his seasons, all right? And that's saying a lot. I don't say that lightly. He could be even better. And the difference will be this. How will he do against elite NFL edges? There's no question how he's going to do against everybody else. He is going to dominate against everybody else. But against people like Joey Bosa or Myles Garrett or Micah Parsons, against these kind of guys who make a living on getting to the quarterback, those top cream of the crop elite guys, how will Ekwonu hold up against those guys? I think he's going to hold up pretty well, but just how well will determine if he's an All-Pro every single season or if he's a Pro Bowler every single season. No matter what, this guy projects, it's a projection, this guy projects to be very, very good at the NFL level. He doesn't seem to be missing anything at all. But, like I said before, he can be beat on the outside edge once or twice a game when he lines up against these elite NFL edges, and when he himself is starting to get some NFL level coaching. How's he going to do? And that will be the difference that decides, is he All-Pro level or is he Pro Bowl level? One or the other. Myself, based on what I've seen, I think he's going to be All-Pro level. That's what it looks like. There are no guarantees, but that'll be the question right there. He'll be fine in the running game. He will dominate in the running game. Most weeks, most of the time, even against average NFL edges, he's going to win all those battles too. But against the really fast ones, those super lightning fast ones who are also strong. Micah Parsons is incredibly quick. Myles Garrett is quick and strong. Joey Bosa is they got that quick first step and he's strong. Against those kind of guys, how will he do? Maybe not first season. There's going to be a learning curve first season. By second and third season, how good is Ekwonu going to do? It's going to be exciting to watch. It'll be fun to watch. I think he's going to do very well, and that's my projection. All right, so I think we've covered everything. I don't think I've left out anything that I wanted to say. If I did, I'm sorry. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're seeing something on film, by all means, something that I haven't seen or that I just didn't cover, by all means, put it in the comments. I stay so busy, and I apologize. I may not respond to all the comments, or I may respond to them 2 months later. I stay so busy, so I apologize in advance if I'm not responding to your comments. But by all means, if you've got a little bit further insight or something, just a different angle on what I've said, by all means, post it in the comments, and we'll make it more of a collaboration that people are watching on different film and things like that. So thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Have a great one. Bye.